Testing, hello? That's better. My rice cook is going off. Hello everyone, welcome to my crochet diaries, or welcome back. I'm Rainy and I have a very fun tutorial for you today. I say that for all my tutorials, but when is crochet not fun? So I want to show you how to make this shrug that I'm wearing right this minute. I'm wearing it under this oversized t-shirt, but you can style it whichever way you like. I'm calling this project my print cropped shrug. It's my very first wearable that I've ever made, I want to say, even though I've been crocheting for a couple years now. It's just always been a bit intimidating. Quick backstory, so I had made, wait a minute, I made the slouchier version too. I completed the shrug. I was so happy with it that I packed it with me to a trip that I had last month. I went to LA, I went to New York City. So much fun. What I've learned though from making this, nothing to be intimidated about. We're going to be using basic stitches. There's a little bit of increasing in a raglan sleeve pattern that I'm going to be walking you through. Nothing to be afraid of, and if you've never crocheted an item of clothing before, maybe make this one your first. The tutorial that I'm going to show you today is more of a made to measure approach to crocheting this, so if that's something that you prefer or you feel like you want to deviate from standard sizing, this is the tutorial to watch. If there's any questions or comments you have about anything that I've covered today, please let me know in the comments. I'm always happy to help you out, and I hope you enjoy the tutorial. Let's get into what we'll need. I'm going to be using quite a fine yarn today. It's a wool and mohair blend, so it's got a nice halo. Please use whatever yarn you'd like. I do think a fluffier yarn lends itself nicely to this project, especially if you want to emulate my sample. I'll pair that with a 3mm crochet hook. This is an ergonomic aluminium hook from my favourite set from Knit Picks. I've also got some standard tools with me, some scissors, stitch markers for when I increase, and a darning needle to weave my ends in. Optionally, you may want to have some measuring tape as well as a top with a neckline and sleeves that you like. Totally optional, but you could also reference its measurements for your shrug. Let's begin with the yoke or the neckline of the shrug. Just as a point of reference, I want to make an oversized neckline, so I'll work around a 70cm or a 27.5-inch chain. Yours will vary though, you can work whatever size you'd like. The only thing to be mindful of is to make sure the number of chains is a multiple of 4. For example, I'll work a magic loop and chain 120. I'm also going to leave a slightly longer tail end to make sure things are secure when I weave them in later. Okay, here's my chain of 120. Now, making sure my chain isn't twisted, I'll join the round with a slip stitch into the first chain made. I like working into the back bumps of my foundation chain, but you can work into the top loops as usual, that's completely fine. Pop the chain over your head to make sure you're happy with the size, and let's continue on to the first round. Start with a chain 4, and that'll always count as the first triple crochet plus a chain 1. Now here's the repeating pattern. I'm going to skip the next chain from my hook and work a triple crochet into the following chain. I'm using US terms, so a triple crochet in this case involves yarning over twice to start. And now I'll chain 1, and that's the repeat, which I'll work all the way around. So let's do that again. And what this creates is a mesh pattern. I'll work ahead and meet you close to the end of the round. To complete the round, I'll slip stitch into the third chain of my starting chain, and I like to work through both loops. That's the first round completed. For round 2, we'll begin adding in points where we increase. I've seen several tutorials that recommend folding our work in half with the join in the middle and marking out 5 centimeters or 2 inches in from the left and right edges. You can approach it this way. Truthfully, I'm a little more lax with this step. With my round, I'll make a rectangular shape And then at those 4 points, I'll add my stitch markers in. I'll then count the number of triple crochet in each edge to make sure things are symmetrical. Lastly, I'll try it over my head to make sure I'm happy with where my increases are. Back to crocheting, we'll turn our work after each round so that our seam is straight, and then I'll chain 4 and work my pattern repeat again. So I'll basically be working into the previous round's triple crochet stitches. I'll do this until I reach my first increase. In this stitch, I'll work a triple crochet, chain 1, and another triple crochet. So it's like a little V that we're making, and that's what we'll do for the entire round. Then I'll add my stitch marker back into the chain space that I've made and continue with my pattern repeat, and the same technique at every stitch where I increase. To complete the round, I'll slip stitch into the 3rd chain of my starting chain again. The rest of the rounds for our yoke will basically be this. For round 3, I'll start with a chain 4 again, turn my work and work my pattern repeat. At every increase now that I've a marker in the chain spaces, I'll just be working the same triple crochet, chain 1, triple crochet repeat into the spaces. This is what your increases should look like from here on out. They're worked into the chain spaces. Be mindful of not forgetting to work into the previous round's V's, aka the triple crochet on each side of the chain spaces, and that's how we'll create the shape for our yoke. And I'll just continue working each round this way, trying it over my head occasionally until it practically reaches my armpits. Okay, so here's how things are looking now that the length of the yoke almost reaches my armpits. I just need one more round. You can see that the longer edges are the front and back of my shrug, and the shorter ones will be the sleeves. For this round, I'll show you how to complete the yoke and split the sleeves. I'm going to start my round as I normally do, and then at the first increase, I'm going to work just one triple crochet into the chain space. I'll now want to join these 2 points together. So I'll chain an odd number. I'll chain 5. You may want to chain more if it's a larger shrug that you're making. Then I'll work one triple crochet into the chain space of the next increase. Make sure you're working into the same side of your work. Then I continue on as normal, but now we've connected these 2 points together, and by doing so we've made a new opening for one sleeve. And that's it. I'll continue working my pattern repeat and do the same join for the other side of my work. To complete the final round of the yoke, slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the starting chain, leave a generous tail end and tie off. I'm going to show you how to approach working the sleeves now. Quite simple again. I've worked ahead here so you can see how much it flares out, but the amount is customizable, and I'll show you how to tackle this. To start, we'll need to join some yarn. I like doing this close to where the armpit will be, as it's more discreet once we wear it. Secondly, I'll just take note of the side of my last row of stitches. This isn't a crucial detail, but it's a nice detail. So my second last round of stitches are facing the wrong way. My last round was facing the right way, so I know for when I start this new round, I'll want to face the wrong side of my work. To join my yarn, I'm going to do this right in the middle of my chain where I had connected the sleeves. Leaving a generous tail end again, I'll create a loop, hook onto that, and chain 4. I'll essentially be working my pattern repeat again now. When I reach this old point where I've increased into my yoke, you can see that we face the side of the stitch. What I'll do is work into the chain space and not into the stitch itself, and then chain 1. Next you can see that I've left my stitch marker in from before when we were increasing. As we did in the yoke, I'll work 1 triple crochet into that chain space, I'll chain 1, and then I will refer to my pattern repeat for the rest of the round. Here I am nearing the other end of my sleeve where I'll work into the 2 chain spaces again for symmetry. And now to finish up, I'll slip stitch into the 3rd chain of my 1st chain. I'm going to remove my stitch markers too. And now let me show you how we increase in each round to create the gentle flaring of the sleeves. Let's start with a chain 4, turn our work. Now I'll increase into the chain space next to my hook. Chain 1, and that's it. Now I'll work this pattern repeat as normal, a triple crochet and chain 1 all the way around. And that's all I do in each round to slowly create the flared sleeve. You can do 5 rounds of this, or you could do 10 for a more pronounced flare. I made samples before where I've just increased for 10 rounds. For this particular shrug, I'm going to increase this way for the next 16 rounds. So you can see the very first round of my sleeve has no increases, and the following rounds have an alternating extra triple crochet in the chain space next to the starting chain. So I'm going to go ahead and work my increases. I'll total 16 rounds where I increase, and then I'll work a handful more rounds where it's just the pattern repeat, no more increasing until I'm happy with the length of the sleeves. To finish the shrug, slip stitch into the 3rd chain of the starting chain, tie off, and weave in your ends. So because we've used a mesh stitch, you can see that there's less surface area to weave the tail ends in, which is why I've left a longer end than I normally would. To weave my ends in, I'll use my darning needle, and I'll just be following the flow of the stitches. I'll change direction several times to help secure the ends, and once I've done that, I'll cut the end close to my work. I'll give this baby a steam block and then she's ready to wear. That's the tutorial, everyone. I hoped you followed all the way through. You would have completed your own shrug. Please wear it out. Please tag me on the socials. I'd love to see how other makers put their own twist on things. And I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.